The world of Zyphora was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Towering crystalline cities rose from the jagged mountains, their surfaces reflecting the sunlight in dazzling rainbows. Rivers of luminous liquid flowed through the valleys, casting a soft glow across the alien landscape. The sky was a deep purple, and twin suns bathed the planet in warmth, though their light was strangely gentle on the eyes. For centuries, the Zyphorans had ruled this world with unmatched intelligence, advanced technology, and a strict code of tradition. They prided themselves on their strategic minds and flawless governance, but they had little understanding of humans, creatures they considered fragile, impulsive, and amusingly unpredictable. Queen Lysera stood on the balcony of her palace overlooking the capital city of Thalora. Her gaze was calm but thoughtful, her long silver hair shimmering in the sunlight. Despite her serene exterior, her mind was alive with the weight of her responsibilities. She was young for a queen by Zyphoran standards, yet wise beyond her years. Her people respected her intelligence and diplomacy, and many trusted her to guide Zyphora through turbulent times. Still, a restlessness had begun to grow inside her, a curiosity about life beyond the strict confines of her royal role. It was during this time that the human envoy arrived. The small human delegation came in sleek starships, clearly outmatched by Zyphoran fleets. Among them was Ethan, a human with no impressive physical presence but with an aura of calm confidence. He wore simple clothing, carried himself without pretense, and smiled easily, even in the face of the grandiosity of Zyphoran technology and architecture. The other humans seemed nervous, overwhelmed by the scale of the alien world. But Ethan moved with a quiet assurance that made Lysera pause. Their first meeting was formal, full of the ceremonial protocols of diplomacy. Lysera had expected the human to stumble, to falter under the weight of alien custom, but Ethan surprised her. He asked thoughtful questions, showed genuine interest in Zyphoran culture, and demonstrated a sharp mind for problem-solving. He did not try to impress her with wealth or flashy technology. Instead, he approached every discussion with humility and curiosity. Over the following weeks, Lysera observed Ethan closely. She noticed how he treated her advisors with respect, how he listened more than he spoke, and how he approached problems in ways Zyphorans would not consider. There was a subtle strength in him, a resilience and creativity that went unnoticed by most. While others mocked his small stature and human fragility, Lysera found herself drawn to him. Despite warnings from her advisors, who whispered that humans were weak and unsuitable for royalty, Lysera felt a connection she could not ignore. She was captivated not only by his mind but by his character, his humor, and the way he seemed genuinely unafraid to be himself in an alien world. One evening, under the twin suns, Lysera invited Ethan for a private walk in the palace gardens. The gardens were a marvel of Zyphoran engineering, with floating flowers that glowed softly, crystalline fountains singing in harmony, and paths lined with alien trees whose leaves shimmered in colors no human had names for. Ethan walked beside her, marveling at the beauty but more importantly, sharing stories of Earth, of human resilience, and of the challenges his people had faced to survive in a vast and dangerous universe. Lysera listened, fascinated. She laughed freely at his stories, and in turn, Ethan seemed genuinely interested in her life as queen. It was the first time she had spoken with someone who saw her as a person, not just a ruler. By the end of the evening, a bond had formed between them, an understanding that transcended species, politics, and tradition. Weeks passed, and the human delegation prepared to leave Zyphora. The palace was filled with whispers and tension as Zyphoran nobles speculated about the queen's unusual behavior. Then, in a moment that shocked the galaxy, Lysera announced her decision. She would marry Ethan. The announcement created waves throughout Zyphora and beyond. Nobles were stunned, diplomats were confused, and even the humans in the delegation were caught off guard. How could the Queen of Zyphora, known for her intellect and caution, choose a human, a species they considered fragile and inconsequential? Yet Lysera was firm. She had seen something in Ethan that no one else had, a depth of strength, integrity, and courage that could not be measured by appearances alone. Preparations for the marriage ceremony began immediately. Zyphorans were unaccustomed to blending human customs with their own, but the queen insisted. The ceremony would honor both traditions, human vows of love and commitment and Zyphoran symbols of duty and leadership. On the day of the ceremony, the palace was filled with dignitaries from across the galaxy. Aliens of all shapes and sizes, many unfamiliar even to each other, watched curiously. Ethan stood beside Lysera, calm and composed, while the Queen's advisors whispered anxiously among themselves. Many expected disaster, an embarrassing spectacle for the proud Zypheran people. But the ceremony unfolded beautifully. Ethan spoke his vows with sincerity, promising to honor, respect, and protect Lysera in every way he could. Lysera, in turn, promised to stand with him, to embrace his humanity and to recognize the strength he carried within. There was no pomp or arrogance in their words, only honesty, connection, and mutual respect. As the final words were spoken and the ceremonial lights of Zephora bathed them in a gentle glow, a ripple of awe spread through the crowd. For the first time, many Zephyrians began to see humans differently, not as fragile creatures, but as beings capable of loyalty, courage, and wisdom. The murmurs of doubt were slowly replaced by curiosity, and perhaps admiration. After the ceremony, Ethan and Lysera walked through the palace halls together, sharing quiet smiles and stolen moments of laughter. They explored the city at night, observing how their people moved through the glowing streets, marveling at the architecture and technology. Everywhere they went, Ethan asked questions, not just about the superficial details, but about the philosophy, history, and culture of Zephora. His human perspective brought new insights that even the most learned Zypherans had overlooked. Lysera watched him with growing admiration. She realized that strength did not always present itself as brute force or authority. Ethan's strength was quiet, patient, and deeply intelligent. It was in his ability to adapt, to understand, and to inspire trust. She had chosen wisely, though she did not yet know the full extent of what he could achieve. As night fell over the twin suns, Lysera and Ethan stood on the balcony of the palace once more. The city below glittered like a sea of stars, reflecting the light of their shared future. Lysera felt a sense of hope she had never experienced before. With Ethan by her side, she believed they could face anything: diplomatic challenges, intergalactic threats, or the skepticism of the galaxy itself. Yet, even in this moment of serenity, a shadow loomed on the horizon. Far beyond Zephora, observers from neighboring empires had taken notice of the unusual human-queen union. Some were curious, some were skeptical, and others were openly hostile. Among them, the Voric Dominion, a powerful and expansionist alien empire, saw the marriage not as a symbol of unity, but as a weakness to exploit. But Lysera did not see weakness. She saw potential. And as she looked at Ethan, standing with quiet confidence beside her, she felt certain that the human she had married carried a strength that would soon astonish not only her people, but the entire galaxy. And in that certainty, a new chapter began, not only for Lysera and Ethan, but for all of Zyphora. The twin suns of Zephora shone brightly, casting sharp light across the crystalline city of Thalora. For a moment the city seemed peaceful, its floating gardens glimmering and streets humming with energy. Yet beneath the calm surface, tension had been building. The subtle threats Ethan had noticed weeks before were now becoming undeniable. The Voric Dominion, a neighboring empire known for its ruthlessness, had decided that the human queen's marriage was an opportunity to strike. They had been observing Zephora carefully, sending spies and minor attacks to test the planet's defenses. But now they were ready for a direct assault. Their fleet appeared in Zephora's orbit without warning, massive ships casting shadows over the twin suns, their engines humming like the heartbeat of a predator. The alarms in the palace sounded instantly. Red lights flashed across command centers, and holographic maps displayed the incoming vessels. Zypheran commanders rushed to their stations, their faces tight with tension. For centuries, Zephora had been prepared for threats, yet even they had not anticipated an attack so sudden, so overwhelming. Queen Lysera stood at the head of the command room, her silver hair glinting under the emergency lights. Her eyes scanned the information flooding the holographic displays. She had faced crises before, but this one felt different. It was not just the size of the enemy fleet. It was their cunning, their strategy, and the knowledge that their spies had infiltrated the city for weeks. Beside her, Ethan stood quietly. He did not panic. Instead, he observed the fleet, the defense protocols, and the maps of the city with a calm intensity. The palace guards and Zypheran commanders, seeing him so composed, felt a small measure of reassurance. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but Ethan's presence gave them courage they had not realized they needed. "They're approaching from multiple angles," one commander said urgently. "We cannot intercept all of them simultaneously. Our defenses will be spread too thin." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "Then we don't spread ourselves thin. We concentrate where it matters most. Let me see the main fleet positions." Lysera stepped closer, intrigued. "You can plan a defense strategy faster than our commanders?" Ethan smiled softly. "Not faster. Differently. I see patterns others might miss." With that, he studied the holographic displays, tracing the probable paths of the enemy ships. He noted weak points in the Dominion's approach, gaps in their formation and locations where they were overconfident. Then he began issuing calm instructions to the palace engineers, directing them to adjust energy shields, deploy mobile defense units, and manipulate gravity fields to slow incoming ships. At first, the Xiferan commanders hesitated. This was unconventional. Humans were rarely given command in battle strategy, especially not a human married to the Queen. But Ethan's confidence and clarity inspired trust. Slowly they followed his instructions, adjusting their weapons and defenses under his guidance. The first wave of the Vorak attack hit Xifora's outer defenses. Massive ships unleashed torrents of energy weapons, tearing through conventional barriers. The ground trembled under the impact, and panic began to rise among the civilian population. Yet the palace shields, guided by Ethan's adjustments, absorbed most of the damage. Some structures were hit, but the city's core remained intact. Lysera watched, her heart pounding. She had always known her human husband was clever, but seeing him direct operations under fire was something entirely different. His mind moved like a machine, analyzing, predicting, and adapting with precision. He noticed every detail, from the angles of incoming fire to the timing of shield rotations. In the city streets, Xiferan soldiers began to rally. They had followed conventional protocols for centuries, yet Ethan's guidance gave them new confidence. They moved faster, struck more accurately, and coordinated in ways they had never done before. The human, who appeared so unassuming just weeks ago, had become a pillar of strength in the middle of chaos. The enemy, expecting an easy conquest, was surprised. Their ships were repelled in areas where they had assumed victory was guaranteed. Some of their commanders began to question the intelligence of their own plans. The Dominion had underestimated Xifora, yes, but more importantly, they had underestimated the human at the Queen's side. Meanwhile, Ethan noticed another threat. A group of Dominion fighters had bypassed the main defense lines and were heading directly toward the palace. These ships were small, fast, and armed with devices designed to disable key energy nodes. If they succeeded, the palace could fall along with the Queen and her advisors. "Lysera," Ethan said, pointing at the holographic map. "They're coming for the palace. We can't let them get through." Lysera's eyes narrowed. "Do you have a plan?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. I'll need a small team to block them while I adjust the defense matrix to trap them." Without hesitation, Lysera selected a group of elite palace guards and assigned them to assist him. They followed him through corridors lined with glowing energy conduits, trusting him even though he was human. For many it was astonishing. They had never seen a human lead in this way. As they approached the palace's main control hub, Ethan moved quickly. Using his understanding of Xiferan technology, he modified the energy flow to create temporary barriers in the path of the incoming ships. He calculated the timing of the shields and the gravity fields, ensuring the enemy would be trapped in a narrow corridor where their speed would work against them. The Dominion ships entered the designated area, unaware of the trap. Suddenly, energy fields converged, slowing their movement and forcing them into a confined space. Xiferan defense units, following Ethan's plan, struck with precise accuracy. One by one, the ships were disabled or forced to retreat. Back in the command room, Lysera observed the operation. She could hardly believe her eyes. Ethan had not only anticipated the enemy's movements, but had outsmarted them completely. Her heart swelled with admiration. The human she had married, humble, thoughtful, and seemingly ordinary, had revealed a strength that no one could have predicted. The battle was far from over, but the first major assault had been turned back. Xifora's soldiers were invigorated, their confidence restored. Citizens who had feared the worst now whispered about the human who had saved them, though many did not yet know his name. As night fell on the twin suns, Ethan returned to Lysera. They stood on the balcony overlooking the city, which shimmered despite the scars of battle. They expected weakness, Ethan said quietly, almost to himself. And they found none. Not here, not in us, Lysra took his hand. You are more than I ever imagined, Ethan. You are incredible. He smiled softly, though his mind was already moving ahead, thinking of ways to fortify the city further. I'm just doing what needs to be done. The rest is up to them. Despite the calm words, the Queen knew the truth. This human had not only protected her city, but had proven that human ingenuity, courage, and determination could stand shoulder to shoulder with the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The battle had revealed a truth long underestimated by the stars. Humans were not fragile, not easily dismissed, and certainly not weak. And the human at Lysra's side, her husband, was a living testament to that fact. Even as Xiphora celebrated its temporary victory, Ethan knew the war was not over. The Dominion would return, perhaps stronger and more determined. But for now, the city was safe, and the people had begun to see the human in a new light. Lysra watched him, her heart full. In that moment, she realized that this was only the beginning. The human she had married would continue to challenge expectations, inspire her people, and one day, perhaps shock the entire galaxy with the full extent of his strength. And as the twin moons rose over Xiphora, casting silver light across the city, a quiet certainty filled the palace. Whatever the galaxy might throw at them next, Ethan, the human, would meet it head-on, and the Queen would stand proudly beside him. Life in the palace had changed in ways no one could have expected. Queen Lysra and her human husband, Ethan, had settled into their unusual routine, and the citizens of Xiphora were slowly adjusting to their queen's bold decision. Rumors still whispered through the crystalline halls of the palace. Some advisors questioned her judgment. Others openly doubted that a human could handle the responsibilities of being married to a queen. But Ethan did not care for whispers. He focused on learning, observing, and understanding the world he now called home. From the very first day, Ethan had shown a remarkable curiosity about Xiphora's technology. He spent hours in the palace libraries, poring over blueprints and holographic schematics. Even Xiphoran engineers, some of the most brilliant minds in the galaxy, were surprised by how quickly he grasped concepts they had spent decades perfecting. He asked questions that others had never thought to ask, and he proposed ideas that were both practical and revolutionary. Lysra watched him quietly during these sessions. She marveled at his mind. The humans of his home planet were often underestimated by alien civilizations, and yet, here was one human who approached challenges without fear, with a calm clarity that reminded her of the strength hidden within her own people. It's amazing how you understand our technology so fast, Lysra said one evening, sitting beside him in the library. Crystalline orbs floated around the room, casting soft light on the walls lined with data archives. Ethan shrugged with a modest smile. I'm just trying to see the logic behind it. Once you know the principles, it's easier to adapt. Lysra's eyes softened. You make it seem so simple, yet I know it's not. You are extraordinary. Ethan laughed quietly. I'm just a human, Lysra. Nothing more. But Lysra knew better. There was something about Ethan that transcended appearances. He was ordinary in body, but extraordinary in mind, spirit, and courage. In the weeks that followed, Ethan began spending time with the palace guards and military engineers. He watched their drills, learned their protocols, and offered small suggestions that improved efficiency. At first, the Xiphoran officers were skeptical. How could a human, with no formal military training, possibly contribute meaningfully? But slowly they began to see that Ethan's insights worked. He noticed patterns in the enemy simulations, predicted outcomes in exercises, and proposed strategies that were both clever and effective. It was subtle. At first, a slight adjustment in patrol routes, a reorganization of supply chains, a new method for training pilots, but the results were undeniable. The palace staff and military officers began to acknowledge his influence, though many still did so in hushed tones, unsure of what to make of a human who could outperform centuries of alien expertise. Despite his growing reputation, Ethan remained humble. He never sought credit or praise. Instead, he worked quietly, earning the respect of those who observed him closely. Lysra noticed this, and her admiration deepened. She realized that true strength was not measured by size, power, or authority, but by intelligence, adaptability, and the willingness to act when needed. However, peace is rarely permanent in the galaxy. Across the stars, the Vorak Dominion had taken note of the unusual union. Their leaders, known for their ruthlessness and cunning, saw a human married to a queen as a symbol of weakness. In their minds, the human would be easily manipulated, and Zyphora would crumble without the queen's full attention. They began sending spies disguised as traitors and diplomats to observe the palace, hoping to find weaknesses to exploit. Ethan was aware of this subtle threat long before Zephoran intelligence detected it. He noticed small anomalies, supplies going missing, encrypted messages intercepted, unusual movements in the city. He shared his observations with Lysera in private, careful not to alarm the court prematurely. "This is subtle," he said one evening as they reviewed reports in the palace command room. Holographic screens floated in the air, displaying complex diagrams of the city's energy networks and security grids. "But it's happening. Someone is probing for weaknesses, testing our defenses." Lysera frowned. "The advisors will want to react immediately, but what do you suggest?" Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying the patterns. "We observe first. Understand their methods. If we act too soon, they'll know we're aware. We need to turn their assumptions against them." Lysera's confidence in him grew. She trusted his judgment even when it contradicted conventional wisdom. Together, they devised quiet measures to protect key installations, reinforce security, and monitor communications, all without raising alarm. The Queen's advisors were puzzled when they noticed changes in protocols, but could not understand their origin. Meanwhile, Ethan continued to integrate himself into Zephoran society. He visited schools, attended scientific workshops, and participated in cultural ceremonies. Every step of the way he learned and adapted, demonstrating the remarkable flexibility and creativity humans were known for. Children admired him for his patience and kindness. Engineers respected him for his intelligence, and ordinary citizens found him approachable and genuine. One day, while walking through the city markets with Lysera, Ethan noticed something unusual. A group of alien traders was exchanging information in coded signals. He leaned closer and whispered to the Queen, "They're sending messages to someone outside the city. Likely scouts or spies." Lysera's eyes widened. "You can tell that just by watching them." Ethan nodded. "It's not difficult once you know what to look for. We should keep track without revealing that we know." The Queen smiled, a mixture of pride and awe. "You truly see the world differently than we do." As the weeks passed, Ethan's influence grew quietly. He began introducing minor innovations in energy distribution, transportation, and communication systems, each one subtle enough to avoid attracting unwanted attention, but significant enough to improve efficiency and safety. Zyphorans began to recognize that the human queen's husband possessed a rare combination of intellect, creativity, and practical skill, qualities they had long admired in their own kind but never expected from a human. Lysera herself marveled at how much Ethan had become a part of their world. He respected their culture, honored their traditions, and yet brought fresh ideas that no one had thought possible. The bond between them deepened with every passing day. She realized that she had not only chosen wisely in marriage, but that she had discovered a partner who would challenge and inspire her in ways she had never imagined. Yet, beneath the calm surface of palace life, shadows were stirring. The Vorak Dominion's spies grew bolder. Reports of suspicious activity increased, and subtle acts of sabotage began to appear. Tools misplaced, messages intercepted, minor power disruptions in critical systems. Ethan noticed each anomaly, tracing them carefully, predicting the next move of the enemy before they acted. One evening, after a day filled with analysis and strategy discussions, Ethan sat with Lysera in the observation deck overlooking the city. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky a deep violet with stars sparkling across the horizon. "They are testing us," Ethan said quietly, his gaze distant, not yet attacking directly but probing. "If we respond poorly, they will strike." Lysera reached out and placed her hand on his. "And you will know what to do?" Ethan smiled softly. "We will know, together." The Queen felt a wave of reassurance wash over her. In all her years of ruling, she had never felt such certainty, such calm confidence. Ethan's presence was a reminder that strength came in many forms, not always visible at first glance. His intelligence, patience, and courage were forces that no one could underestimate. Least of all, their enemies. As the night deepened, the palace lights shimmering like stars, Lysra realized something profound. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in a way that was powerful. They could adapt, learn, and overcome in ways even the most advanced alien species could not anticipate. And the human she had chosen, her husband, was the living embodiment of that truth. Far beyond Zyphora, the Vorak Dominion prepared for what they assumed would be an easy conquest. They believed the human queen's marriage was a weakness. They did not yet understand that this human, underestimated by nearly everyone in the galaxy, possessed a subtle strength that could turn even the gravest dangers into opportunity. Lysra and Ethan, unaware of the Dominion's final plans, continued their quiet work. Each day brought new challenges, new discoveries, and new chances to prove that humans were not merely fragile creatures. The palace grew more secure, the citizens more confident, and the bond between queen and husband stronger. And in that quiet, steady growth, the stage was being set. The human who had married a queen was about to reveal a strength that would shock not only the leaders of Zyphora but the entire galaxy. The subtle power of a human mind was awakening, and nothing would ever be the same. The city of Thalora was quiet now, but it was a quiet filled with triumph. The twin suns had set, and the streets shimmered under the soft glow of artificial lights, reflecting off the crystalline towers that stretched toward the violet sky. The citizens of Zyphora moved carefully but confidently, whispering stories of the human who had defended their city with a brilliance and courage that no one had anticipated. Queen Lysra walked through the palace gardens with Ethan, the soft light of floating orbs illuminating the paths lined with shimmering alien flora. The gardens had been partially damaged during the recent battle, but even in their battered state they looked breathtaking. Flowers glowed faintly, their petals floating slightly above the ground, and crystalline fountains hummed gently. "I still cannot believe it," Lysra said, her voice quiet, almost reverent. "You stood against the champion, Ethan. You outsmarted him. You saved everyone." Ethan smiled, modest as always. "I did what I had to do. I didn't do it alone. The soldiers, the engineers, the people. They all played a part. I just helped coordinate." Lysra shook her head. "No, it was more than coordination. You saw what no one else could see. You turned a battle that could have destroyed us into a victory. Humans, we have underestimated them for far too long, but now I know the truth." Ethan looked at her, his eyes calm and steady. "Strength isn't always about muscles or weapons. It's about thinking, adapting, and acting when it matters most." The queen sighed, a mixture of relief and pride washing over her. She had loved Ethan for his kindness, intelligence, and humility, but now she saw a new layer of depth, an inner strength that could shape the course of history. She realized that the galaxy had been wrong to underestimate humans. In the days that followed, the city worked to rebuild. Palaces and towers that had been damaged during the attack were repaired, often stronger than before. Ethan moved quietly among the citizens, helping organize repairs, offering guidance to engineers, and ensuring that no one was left behind. Children followed him curiously, amazed at the calm, clever human who had faced a terrifying alien champion and lived to tell the story. Outside the palace, the Zyphoran soldiers spoke in hushed tones about Ethan's tactics. Officers who had doubted his abilities were now seeking his advice, eager to learn how a human mind could anticipate and outthink even the most experienced alien warriors. Even the queen's advisors, many of whom had once whispered doubts about her choice in husband, now spoke of Ethan with respect and awe. They recognized that the human's unique perspective and adaptability had changed the outcome of the battle, and perhaps even the future of Zyphora itself. Far beyond Zyphora, the news spread quickly. The victory over the Vorak Dominion, led by a human mind and the guidance of a queen, became the topic of discussion across the galaxy. Other civilizations began to reassess their assumptions about humans. Where they had once seen fragility, they now saw resilience. Where they had assumed weakness, they now saw intelligence and courage. Lysra watched these changes with quiet satisfaction. She had always known that Ethan was extraordinary, but she had not expected his actions to ripple across the stars in this way. She realized that their union, a human and a queen, was more than a personal bond. It was a symbol that humanity could rise to challenges, stand beside the most advanced civilizations, and inspire change even in the most skeptical hearts. One evening, Lysera invited Ethan to the palace observatory. The room was filled with floating holographic maps of the galaxy, displaying star systems, trade routes, and the locations of known alien powers. The air was calm, the hum of energy systems soft and steady. Ethan studied the maps quietly. "The Dominion will likely return," he said. "They've been humiliated and they won't forget it. But they've also learned something: they cannot underestimate humans, not anymore." Lysera placed a hand on his shoulder. "And they will not underestimate you." He smiled faintly. "I don't want to be underestimated, Lysera. I want people to see humans as they really are, capable, resilient, and adaptable." She nodded. "You've already shown them. And you've shown me. Every day I see more of your strength, not just in battle, but in your mind, your spirit, and your heart." The Queen looked out of the observatory window where the city shimmered below like a sea of light. "I married a human, Ethan. I married someone I believed in. And now the galaxy sees that belief was not misplaced. You've changed everything." Ethan remained quiet, thoughtful. He understood the weight of their actions. Their victory had not only defended a city, but had also shifted perceptions, changed alliances, and inspired hope. Humans, often dismissed as weak or fragile, had now taken their place among the galaxy's respected civilizations. In the following weeks, Ethan and Lysera worked together to strengthen Zephora's alliances. They reached out to neighboring planets, sharing knowledge and technology, building trust and cooperation. Humans were involved in training programs, strategic councils, and cultural exchanges. Zypherans began to appreciate the unique perspectives humans brought: creativity, problem-solving, and courage in unexpected ways. The Dominion, still recovering from their defeat, reconsidered their strategy. They observed Zyphora carefully, noting that the humans were not as weak as they had assumed. They realized that a single human mind, working alongside a leader like Lysera, could alter outcomes that armies alone could not. Within the palace, Ethan continued his quiet work. He did not seek recognition, yet his actions were undeniable. From engineering improvements to training programs and strategic planning, he left a mark on every aspect of Zypheran life. Lysera observed him with pride, knowing that she had chosen wisely, not only for love but for the future of their world. One day, during a visit to a newly rebuilt school, Ethan spoke to children about courage and creativity. "Strength isn't just fighting," he said. "It's thinking, learning, and doing what's right even when it's hard. Every one of you has the ability to make a difference." The children listened, eyes wide with admiration. For them, the human who had defended their city was a hero, but also a teacher. He showed them that being small or different did not mean being powerless. Back in the palace, Lysera reflected on everything that had happened. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a human, not through aggression or conquest, but through intelligence, courage, and the ability to adapt. She realized that this was a turning point, not just for Zyphora, but for humanity itself. "You've changed everything, Ethan," she said softly, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the city. "Humans will never be underestimated again." He took her hand gently. "We've only just begun, Lysera. There are challenges ahead, but we'll face them together. Humans adapt, we endure. And now, we've shown the galaxy what we can do." The Queen smiled, feeling a deep sense of certainty. The human she had married was extraordinary, not because of size or strength, but because of his mind, his courage, and his unshakable character. Together they had turned what could have been a disaster into a victory, and in doing so they had inspired hope across the stars. The twin moons rose above the city, casting silver light across the crystalline towers. The people of Zephora looked up, some whispering tales of the human who had saved them, others planning for a future now brighter than ever. The story of Ethan, the human married to a queen, had spread far and wide. It would be remembered not just as a tale of victory, but as a symbol of human potential. And in that shining city, as the queen and her husband stood together, it was clear that a new era had begun. Humans would be seen in a new light, resilient, intelligent, and capable of feats no one had imagined. The galaxy had witnessed the strength of one human, and through him humanity itself had been elevated. Ethan looked at Lysera, and then at the city below. "We've done something incredible," he said. "And this is only the beginning." Lysera nodded, her heart full. Yes, it is. Together, we will guide Zephora and humanity into a future they will never forget. The stars above twinkled as if in agreement, and the twin moons bathed the city in silver light. A new era had dawned, a time of cooperation, courage, and respect between humans and aliens alike. And at the center of it all stood a human and a queen, united not just by love, but by the extraordinary strength of their minds, hearts, and spirits. In the quiet peace of that night, it was certain the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. The skies above Zephora were filled with the remnants of the Vorak Dominion's retreating fleet. Smoke trailed from their damaged ships, and scattered alarms warned of minor skirmishes still taking place along the city's perimeter. The battle had been fierce, yet the city remained intact. Citizens began to venture out cautiously, whispering in amazement about the human who had guided their defense with calm precision. Inside the palace, Queen Lysera moved quickly between command stations, coordinating repairs and managing the injured. She had witnessed Ethan's brilliance during the initial attack, but now she sensed that his full strength had yet to be revealed. The Dominion was not finished. Their scouts had reported the arrival of a champion, a massive alien warrior, a veteran of countless conquests, known across multiple star systems for his unstoppable strength and tactical genius. He is coming for the palace, a Xipheran commander warned, his voice tight with concern. No one has ever faced him and survived. If he breaches the palace, the city may fall. Lysera's gaze shifted to Ethan. He was reviewing data calmly, as if the danger were simply another puzzle to solve. We will stop him, he said softly. We have the advantage. He doesn't understand humans yet. The queen felt a mixture of awe and anxiety. She knew her husband was intelligent, courageous, and resourceful, but could he face a being so powerful, so feared, and emerge victorious? The answer was about to reveal itself. The alien champion arrived in Zephora's orbit aboard a colossal warship. His reputation preceded him. He had toppled cities, crushed armies, and defeated the strongest warriors of countless civilizations. Yet as his ship approached, Ethan calmly studied its trajectory, energy emissions, and weapon systems. His mind raced through possibilities, predicting the champion's likely strategy. Lysera watched him, holding her breath. Are you certain this will work? She asked. Ethan turned to her, his expression steady. I've seen patterns like this before. He will underestimate us, and he will underestimate me. That is our advantage. The palace immediately went into full alert. Energy shields were raised, defense drones activated, and Xipheran soldiers moved into strategic positions. Yet it was Ethan who coordinated the entire operation. He did not command with arrogance. He directed with logic and precision, assigning units to critical points, adjusting energy flow, and creating diversion strategies that leveraged the alien champion's expectations against him. As the champion descended toward the city, his massive frame visible through the haze of the atmosphere, Xipheran defenses opened fire. Energy beams streaked through the sky, aiming for precision strikes, but the champion's speed and armor rendered most attacks ineffective. Citizens scattered in fear, yet Ethan remained composed. He had anticipated this. This is where we adapt, Ethan said. He expects brute force. We'll use intelligence and unpredictability. He guided a small team of elite palace guards to intercept the champion's landing. Using gravity fields, kinetic barriers, and clever positioning, they slowed his approach without engaging directly. Every move Ethan made forced the alien to expend energy inefficiently, slowly wearing him down while avoiding unnecessary risk to the city. Then Ethan moved forward. Alone, he confronted the alien champion in the palace courtyard. The soldiers watched from a distance, tense and uncertain, while Lysera observed from a balcony above, her heart pounding. The champion towered over Ethan, muscles and armor gleaming under the twin suns. His eyes glowed with confidence and hunger for victory. Ethan, in contrast, appeared ordinary, small in stature, unarmored, seemingly vulnerable, yet he radiated a calm, unshakable confidence that made even seasoned Xipheran soldiers pause. The alien charged, expecting a simple, overwhelming assault, but Ethan did not flee. Instead, he moved with precision, anticipating each strike, dodging and redirecting force in ways that seemed almost impossible. Lysera gasped. He's faster than I thought, but speed alone was not the secret. Ethan analyzed the champion's movements, predicting patterns in attacks and timing. He used the environment to his advantage, guiding the champion toward energy barriers, uneven terrain, and traps he had improvised from Zephyrin technology. Each strike the champion landed was mitigated, each blow redirected or absorbed. "You're clever," the alien growled, frustrated. "But strength alone conquers all." Ethan smiled slightly.
Strength is nothing without strategy. With that, he executed a series of maneuvers that combined his understanding of the champion's weaknesses, Zephyrin energy manipulation, and human ingenuity.
He disabled the champion's armor systems temporarily, redirected energy beams to overload the enemy ship's shields, and used precision strikes to force the alien back step by step. Lysera could hardly believe her eyes. This was no ordinary human. The Ethan she had married, the man she loved for his kindness, humor, and intelligence, was demonstrating a strength that went beyond physical might. His mind, adaptability, and courage made him unstoppable in ways the galaxy had never seen. The battle continued, fierce and unrelenting. The alien champion roared, swinging massive limbs and deploying energy weapons, yet Ethan adapted continuously. He used the environment, technology, and his own understanding of tactics to turn the tide. Slowly, the champion began to falter, unable to overcome the human's relentless ingenuity. Finally, with a combination of precise strikes and cleverly timed energy manipulations, Ethan forced the champion to retreat. The alien ship was disabled and his forces scattered. The courtyard fell silent, broken only by the hum of the palace energy systems returning to normal. Lysera descended to the courtyard, her eyes wide with awe. Soldiers and citizens alike whispered in amazement, some kneeling in respect for the human who had saved them all. Ethan stood calm, breathing steadily, not a single trace of arrogance in his demeanor. You did it," Lysera said softly, approaching him. Her voice was full of pride and disbelief. "I knew you were intelligent, resourceful, but this is beyond anything I imagined." Ethan looked at her, a modest smile on his face. "I just did what needed to be done. The rest came from understanding, observation, and acting at the right moment." The queen felt tears rise to her eyes. She had loved him for his humility, kindness, and curiosity, but she had never realized the full extent of his strength. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, and yet here was one, small in size but immense in power, outthinking a champion feared by countless civilizations. News of the battle spread quickly across Zephora. Soldiers praised Ethan's strategy. Engineers marveled at his improvisations, and ordinary citizens told stories of the human who had defended their city with intelligence and courage. The queen's advisors, many of whom had doubted him, now looked upon him with respect and awe. Lysera watched as Ethan quietly assisted the injured, coordinated repairs, and ensured the safety of the citizens. He did not boast, did not demand recognition, yet every action spoke louder than words. He had revealed a type of strength that was rare, profound, and transformative. That evening, as the twin moons rose and bathed the city in silver light, Lysera and Ethan stood once more on the palace balcony. The city below glittered, scarred but alive, a testament to their victory. "You were magnificent," Lysera whispered. "I have never seen anything like it." Ethan looked at the city, then at the stars above. "This is just the beginning. They will return, and there will be challenges ahead. But humans, we adapt, we learn, and we endure." Lysera placed her hand on his. "And I will stand with you always. The galaxy underestimates humans, but now I know the truth. I married a strength beyond measure." In that moment, the full revelation of Ethan's strength was clear. Not only had he protected the queen, the palace, and the city, but he had also changed the perception of humans across Zephora. Intelligence, courage, and adaptability were weapons just as powerful as strength and firepower. The battle had ended, but its lessons endured. The human who had married a queen had revealed what no one else had seen: that humans, underestimated and overlooked, could rise to meet any challenge, outthink any foe, and inspire awe across the stars. And as the twin moons reflected off the crystalline towers of Zephora, the queen knew that the galaxy was witnessing the dawn of a new era, a time when the full strength of humanity would be revealed. And the human at her side would lead the way,